I decided to come back, guys. Maybe they'll still be around, maybe not. I don't really care. We're collapsing an internet cult over there. Got questions.internetcult.org is first in all the combinations of units that have retained the James Escher chronology in print format, and the retention of the James Escher chronology past the year 1976 showed to me that the Bible itself was an invalid apocryphal book. Hey, thanks for joining it. I can't see. So, we're talking about a 6,000 year Earth cult immorality. Aboriginal people have been in Australia for between 50 to 120,000 years, at least 65,000 years. So at least you have this wobble back and forth. You can't make up your determinations of time in all of this data. You wobble, you move, what's going on? So we have 50 to 120,000 years, at least 65,000 years. So we have a 100,000 year presence, knowledge confirmed on both sides to accounts I've confirmed with, and that fit human evolution. 50,000 years, that's 1859 immorality. 6,000 year cult in the year 2029 exposed as 1859 confused science with they were not confirming with you that in 1859 passing over the 1610 inertial pattern data that told you Grandpa Seth and Grandma, whoever her name was, I don't know, she wasn't, we don't have a burial spot. I'm sorry, 1859. You you have the White Cliffs of Dover to compare. I'm going to gather data on the White Cliffs of Dover before I move to the Winded Man Evolved Writing. The White Cliffs of Dover. The cliff, which, how old is it? Told us. How old are the White Cliffs of Dover? How old are the White Cliffs of Dover? 136 million years. And you magically proof 6,000 years ago with this masterful handiwork right here. You're dropping bombs over 6,000 year Earth cult regional awareness. So 500 million year Mount Rainier, 500,000 years of age, not 500 million, 500,000. Airplanes flying over 136 million year old White Cliffs of Dover. So that's your distance and time immorality. On and off at 3500 BC, first record writing. 6,000-year Earth cult regional awareness. Mount Rainier, 500,000 years of age. Mount Shasta, 593,000 years of age. Stonehenge, 519. Circles 3 South, 3000 BC. So that's who? That's Enos when they began to call upon the names of the Lord. 136 million years of age right here. So over there we had Enos and you had other the various Stonehenge instances are where they buried the first albinos who were transported, transposed, and were moved around and placed into Neolithic communities to get provide you your broad diversities and your 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 appearances, and why over there in Europe during the time of World War I and World War II they had more well, first off, the kingdom castles showed that the average height was lower, approximately 5'1" to 5'3". Most everything showed that everyone was 5 feet rather than 5'7". And now I'm 5'7", and most people are actually at about 6, getting taller, spending up. We've increased our capacity to grow up into what we are today. We have been evolving to get taller, but we didn't come from Neolithic savages. We came from Neolithic royalty kids. We never came from Neolithic savages. There's no indentured race for false history. You have a historic false history from this era. You have a historic low of an entire false history of the Neolithic era, where you kept partial data, some places kept it in legend format, kids, and you kept it in a legend, 5 part, 7 part, 9 part, 27 part legend formats. You had to read everything around it to understand world history, everything around. So the White Cliffs of Dover, what happened before? What happened before? Well, God told us what happened. And in the tinted meeting, speaking face to face as friends, Moses wrote down for you to repent at and recognize the White Cliffs of Dover of all fucking places. That this was that massive amount of stuff that grew and all the waters were teemed with and filled with way back when 500 million years ago, and it settled down, and over the last this is the oldest, earliest, youngest point in this series of references. They haven't gone too deep down. How old is the oldest they could find? Older than what they found. But this is all living material that is talked about in the book of Genesis. That the sedimentation over a climbing rate of millions of years slowly died, slowly formed, and slowly crystallized into the White Cliffs of Dover, same as the Sahara region, providing you the sand that you have, same as the Middle East, providing you. It used to be a Sahara, you know, it wasn't a huge desert. It used to be a an oasis there, and there was all sorts of Neolithics running around in there. They all you decomposed down into the oil that you consume so quickly since about 1917, turning on your cars and stuff like that, evolving that out of the Great Ape period, and then going out and gathering data that was false about their Earth history. You have a false Earth history, children, because the Bible was printed in the apocryphal format it was printed in and retained at the 6,000 year Earth legend point, my children. I'm sorry, but that's what you have right here. And that's why it's so hard to explain to you that you are worthless pieces of poop. Guys, it's not hard to explain. 9,000-year-old fossil remain. Why is there a debate? Was there any discussion? Why did it, in a 20-year period, I only read long, complicated battle, finally freed to share, complicated battle, and finally a burial. That's what I read about this Neolithic true that provided you, Toppenish, Washington, magic proof 6,000 year Earth legend church, a 6,000, 9,200 year delta of you are way so you being so way out there. You have to go to you had a big wobble and it invalidated everything about every 20 years, keeping it in legend format. Back forth, wobble, 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 wobble. Wobble, 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 wobble. You're in hell. Wobble, 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 wobble. You're keeping false history of both sides of the same coin. Wobble, wobble, wobble. You can't figure out that you can't talk to each other. Wobble, wobble, wobble. The evolutionaries are giving you the brilliant technology that you have. Wobble, wobble, wobble. You have lights in your churches. Wobble, wobble, wobble. You have a computer to connect to the internet with. Wobble, wobble, wobble. You can present a slideshow and nice little wobble, 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 but you're not teaching. You're not teaching Torah. You're teaching a legend. You're wobbling around teaching a legend of being a medieval magic proof 6,000 years ago with a false Messiah. You have a false Messiah as Jesus. Jesus is not Ben Yosef. Jesus is a 6,000 year legend. Jesus, the name, the character, is a himself a 6,000 year earth rabbi legend. He wrote about himself. He is not who you think he was. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Jesus wrote about the White Cliffs of Dover, told you to fuck off on them. Wobble, wobble, wobble. So when you're back to Kennewick Man, 9,200-year-old fossil remaining, you're finally freed to share secrets, and you're wobbling around from the seventh president, the United States, wobbling, you fucking retarded morons, wobbling fucking churches. Yeah, 3200 BC, first record of writing. See what you wobbled around here in hell. Wobble, wobble, wobble. 3200 BC, first record of writing. You wobble pieces of poop. You get wobbling around pieces of poop. Wobble, wobble, wobble. 3200 BC, writing, and everything else is kind of pointless. The cuneiform script wasn't created. Cuneiform script validated history. It's an invalidated Earth history. It is wobbling. Your cults collapse. You invalidated the history of writing in the next sentence. Cuneiform script invalidated, saying it was magically created, invalidated by loss, through the loss, through the loss of legitimate record. This one, legitimate, I'm Ben David, you're in hell, right here, created legitimate record. And so in this 800 year in hell wobbling, 800 year equal evolution equal 6,000 year earth legend in writing. You miss the ancestral origin of writing, so you miss the ancestral origin of the written record of the Bible. The legend in writing, which was that the 6,000 year earth legend provided provided 800 year consequence of evolution theory. 800 whole fucking years not returning to 1859 right here in the year 2020 to 2014. This is written there. Okay, 25th of June 2014. You have the evolution of writing. You invalidated everything right here. For 125 2014, 125 2014, invalidated at legend of the evolution of writing, which is a legend that everything in writing is exposed at 3200 BC was first. So we have to gather some more information. The history of writing, no longer the evolution of writing. So they've got something, or why don't they talk to the others? They can't. The history of writing, traced development of expressing languages, and we understand what we do with who invented, when did humans first begin to write illegitimate histories. Provide one illegitimate history illegitimate history of Bible itself and the stories of it in the Bible. So right here is you getting your history of how writing systems have evolved in different. It's also evolved. That's a proto-writing systems. That's the most moronic, stupid. It was originally, you can see in the proto-writing Paleolithic Hebrew, which is a common ancestry of all languages. Fuck, you already knew that. So, but you're too incompetent to admit that that meant the other meant you're wrong about. So here, when you're wrong about that, and God's doing that to you in the tent of meeting, you're wrong about it because in Mesopotamia, 3,400 to history writing, Mesopotamia, 3, Mesopotamia, 3,400 BC, 3,400 to 3,100 and 3,100 and 3,100 BC. First record of writing, Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia. So here you have, you're no more buying or selling your books because you're 600, only 600 years away from. You're only 600 years away from October 23, 4,000 years, and only 600 years away from your approximately 6,000 years ago. Only 600 years. Only 600 years. Cast into hell, being so immorally incompetent to keep track of 600 years because you're $22 trillion in debt tokens to God. You're so far immoral incompetence. This book is so immoral incompetent. You're 600 years stupid, ignorant, foolish. You shall not teach that book ever again. Poof, magic, poofing. 600 years, magic fucking poofing. 22 trillion stupids. That's the most ignorant, stupid thing you could ever claim to not be. You're the most ignorant, stupid morons you could ever walk this planet. 600 fucking years. So the indigenous Australians who have been there 60,000 to 125,000 years don't need your book. The Kennewick man didn't need your book 9,200 years. You only shaved there. The 1859 you were impeached. 1859. So when was that's the same year as the Yakima Indian Nation reservations treaties, 1859 treaty with Kennewick Man, 9,200-year-old fossil remained to not erase his fucking Earth history, you immoral incompetence. 1859, the same year Darwin published, you morons. So in 1917, having already invalidated CFR 191 for the year 2020, already having done that back then, they were too incompetent to, hey, this treaty in 1859 told us that the long fucking complicated battle, wasn't that long. They weren't real scientists about it. They should have actually set it aside and not discussed it for your political bullshit, pop culture bullshit that I'm pop culturing bullshitting you, calling your bullshit. You are just right here, immoral incompetence. You're bullshit. Magic poofing 6,000-year legends. You invalidated CFR 191. You invalidated the here you magic proofing 6,000-year legend invalidated the 1859 treaty with the 6,000-year legend church there on top of this engine in the engine. You savages, we love you. They're all walking around. They're not us's. They're Neolithics. They're indentured to the Caucasian immorality. Your Caucasian immorality is that you are just nasty pieces of poop. Your Caucasian immorality is stupid. It's not in us. It's not them, so you don't know how to take care of them, and you're not permitted to take care of them. Is what's God telling you to knock it the fuck off? Lay down, drop, collapse a cult because you're too immoral to have that book. Got questions that cult internet? Yeah, you're worthless. You collapse you because you're so worthless. Collapse you because you're so worthless. Breaking a fucking 1859 treaty you can't keep track of because you magically poofed 6,000 years ago. No, 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 I'm collapsing your churches, your Bible church, you stupid morons. Ben David doesn't like it. You broke the internet in 99. Naughty, naughty, batty, 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 bad shit crazy. You fucking wows. Bat shit fucking crazy is an understatement. What you did right there from 1859, invalidating CFR 199 by being born and invalidating your driver's license by having children and by invalidating your mortgages by going to church and saying a prayer, invalidating your Bible by reading it, invalidating your written record about what pastor was so great and telling you in his demonic teachings, to the pulpit preaching your moronic stupids. Hey, God magically poofs, so you're happy. Say it, being ecstatic, be a stupid. Be like me. I'm fat. I'm dumb. I'm ignorant. I'm foolish. I'm bald. I'm a senior. I've been doing this for a really long fucking time. No, no. The older you are, the worse you are. You remember, you're a mating grade 8. Good for you. Yeah, I did it. Use technology for the first time ever. Slow the fuck down. You, you're all of you, all of you are so far out. Mr. Trump, I'm no sorry. He's one of you guys. He's weird. Yeah, Mr. Trump also invalidated the 1859 by being born, by the way. So by taking God out of the Bible. Mr. Trump, sorry, cult organization took God out of the Bible, and that was a little bit above your impeachment trials, and that was a silly one for them to fuck around with. I'm sorry, Mr. Trump. Why did you morons do that, you stupid fucktards? You are all fucking stupid, great moronic great apes! Evolved writing, you stupid retarded great apes. Come on. What the fuck are you? You're not Christians. You're magic poofers. Magic poofers. You're so fucking moronic stupid. 65,000 years magic poofering. Fuck. Here's fucking 2020. How moronically. Wow. Fuck. Yeah, come on. Indian Nation, 1859. 6,000 year cult regional awareness. Here's your 1,000 year configuration management plan because it came out with 9,200 year fossil remain on the Columbia River, where you have the Red Road, 1,000 year Red Road configuration management plan, written by a real engineer. Cult closure. Puff on the Pope for giving you 75 books and you taking God out of the Bible. And the Pope going, I didn't know he was there. I'm sorry. Pope didn't know either. There was something else there he circled, and he got a medieval cult leader, Puff on the Magic Poof Pope who gave you the Bible in 1984. So you had 1984 1984, the King James Version Bible, the Apocryphal Bible, the King James Version of the Bible should have been out of print and corrected for the James Escher chronology by 1984, called, wow, 1984. And that came true in 1986 when you had the World Olympics yet again. 1984 appeared in Earth history, appeared in Earth history by getting you back to 1610 to open up in 1611. That the you were gone between Never There to 1959. 1984, the church system simply never grew with a legitimate non-apocryphal legend. The Bible in 1984 was an invalid apocryphal 6,000 year boke, B-O-K-E, in 1537. B-O-O-K-E in 1602. The Bible continued to remain the same at B-O-O-K-E in 1611. Then from 1611, provided you, it evolved to remain at B-O-O-K, and in the year 1666. What sweet, savory, sweet Jesus. Thank you for whispering that. And sweet nothings of the Quran in Muhammad's ears as he, my wandering Jew rabbi, albino, not grade 8, but Jesus was sitting there next to Muhammad, whispering, "You have heard of those who broke the Sabbath. And you've heard of those who broke the Sabbath. They shall be changed into detested apes. They shall be changed into detested apes," in whatever language he's spoken back in there. I don't really give a shit. We're back in the English now. Yeah, and that was as a lesson for the righteous around the second time he did it. And the third time that Jesus sit there and whispered the sweet nothings of that beautiful, beautiful Quran God wants in your school systems, yeah, handwritten by you immoral, incompetent students, as you're immorally and incompetently evolving. You have heard of those who broke the Sabbath. They shall be changed into detested apes. And you're now keeping much better record of Earth history as to when you did something about the female circumcision, which isn't that very good, to not take care of it. Sit there as a 6,000 year magic poofing cult, $22 trillion in a cult. I'm going to collapse because you have Jesus fucked you over. And Saul changed his name to Paul, and over there I need to collapse their cult ministerial. We have Jesus, but we don't have you, and they haven't seen you ever repent, and so they're cutting off their girls' clitorises, and that's not acceptable behavior. That's just not okay. And that being just not okay, like priest raping was just not okay. Never again. We're not going to accept that. And we're collapsing the church in Rome, and to let them get that point of view. We're doing that because we don't want that to continue. That is the same as my German, who is in your PBS specials, telling his historical account, dragging the Jews getting executed while you were staring at the golden calf and not seeing that, and rather than catching on to the no more buying or selling of books because you're a cult, right there, bracketed bullshits. and your aperture ring is completely, totally fucked up, that you stared at that golden calf and you couldn't figure out that no more buying or selling of books was you're just wrong, $22 trillion in debt. So your 6,000 year, your 1,000 year cult closure, 1984, you should have had the Bible taken out of print. So since 1984 to present day, you've arrived at $22 trillion. 2020 arrival at 2020 because of is a good way of saying it. Because of Apocrypha, because of 1666 Apocrypha. Read me in fucking wisdom, my children, my children, my children. Wasn't very wise to keep James Usher at all. The that's always been a deduction that was false, and it's always been a nice try, and then it's always been nothing ever worked. Then it's always been it just never the deduction was a false deduction. You do not use scripture for that purpose at all. Don't. You just can't. That's not what it's for. You counted back on your toes and your fingers into your legends, and you only couldn't tell that that wasn't what it told you. And so you then philogenized everything. And ontogeny is a brief and rapid recapitulation of phylogeny. You got it. And you invalidated Dr. Martin Luther, buddy. So in 1984, arrival at 6,000. The 1666 King James Version of the Bible was nasty. The one you have to collapse into the Mormon Church. (2020) King James Apocrypha. It's entirely apocryphal. Entirely. Every word, the numerical coding and the names of the books are apocrypha. Every word, every sentence, then you have you don't understand it. You then created an apocryphal legend beside the Bible because same with Joseph Smith, everyone who's touched that thing. The others I've shown you. The apocryphal legend of the King James Version of the Bible fucking around, floating around, and everyone touching it, just like I told you we're all going to do with it. And so I'm finally touching it to take it out of print for the final time for 1,000 years until you pull your heads out of your asses and you can figure out that 120 years from being collapsed is all it'll take to reset to when you can touch it again. You can't touch it again. You don't get to touch the Bible again, Colt. You don't. You don't. You don't. No, you took God out of it because you couldn't see him in it. And because you did that, you got cast in the way out there's list of stay the fuck out. You are a cult, a cult, a cult. You're nothing less than a cult. Nothing less than a really shitty, what in the fuck happened to the Bible cult? So we figured out that that's because the King James Bible left here now. The it itself is an apocryphal King James version that the Mormon Church arrived at in Leviticus 12 and 15 in stupidities, missing legitimate ancestral origin of who's and who's not used and not keeping legitimate. So I'm providing you sacred data to collapse you out. This is a newspaper article. Took God out of the Bible, so I missed every word in it. King James Apocrypha. 1999. 1999. What do we call yours? 6,000 year Earth legend beginning. Uh, because it was until Jimmy Swaggart also touched it that you guys were contributing and fucking around in the same legendary stupidity of you can't. No, you were gone in '99. You're gone in '89. You're gone in '79. You're gone in '69. You're gone in '59. You're gone in '49. You're gone in '39. You weren't there in '27. Yo, fuck, fuck. You weren't there in '27. Okay, Apocrypha. 1999, not being there for 27 years. Yeah, since 27. Uh, uh, I have to think about this. This is for the closure of the church I was baptized in. So, full closure because of the 1996, you have no brain data and stuff like that. I have to think about it. I have to think about it. That is really hard to work with data because it's obvious to me because I give a shit and I want to close you. I want to watch you crumble. I that's like the best kind of cult ever. The Bible promised this huge big nothing. There's only a weird little black hole, and there's this little weird black hole in the Bible. God's not in it, except where he's not. According to your John 1:18, he's not there. As it told you, you wouldn't see him. Cool. Write that down again. John 1:18 told you you would not observe God in the tent of meeting because John 1:18 was Jesus's handwriting, just the exact same as Jesus hand wrote Matthew chapter 1, Matthew chapter 2, Matthew chapter 3, Matthew chapter 4, and Matthew chapter 5, which is not a magic sermon of a 6,000 year deductive legend. It is not a sermon, it is a daily list of one liners section out into what he just called four disciples in Matthew chapter 4, and then come Matthew chapter 9, it told you when he called Matthew into and provided him that scroll, and Matthew then began keeping record of the continued daily one liners, never a sermon. Never a sermon. That's a demonic use of that. That was never a sermon. That was Jesus's handwriting. Revelation 16, verse 17, we're done with the 6,000 year stupid deduction right there. Done. You're collapsed. Taking God out of the Bible in the tent of meeting with the 6,000 year can't figure out the Bible. Saul changed his name to Paul. From to around Timothy. helped at the Dead Sea Scrolls. Judas never was murdered, or he never hung himself. Jesus wasn't Barabbas on the cross, never traded places, only lied to you about that in order to catch you in your life. He didn't lie to you, he did a normal Kabbalistic, this is what I told you I was doing for you elsewhere, when he was transporting the Dead Sea Scrolls out of the second temple and working with Titus in order to destroy the second temple. Got questions.cult internet cult.vil. Magic proof. Can't figure out Earth history. Can't figure anything out because you can't figure out you're following a legend. Nothing less. Got questions.cult. Nothing less. You've been following a legend since 1999. Nothing less. Following a legend that unraveled in 1996. Following a legend unraveled in 1996. Unraveled in 1996 when Kennewick Man himself was found 9,200-year-old fossil remain. Then it took you 20 years to recognize that NASA data back then was so far off. Also, I'm actually surprised you got to the fucking moon. And so, if you want to debate about having done that, don't, because you did, and you have that record of already doing that. So why continue to be stupid like you're always stupid? You're just always stupid. You're just I can't ever accept anything in reality because you can't see God. You can't see God if in the tent of meeting, face to face. Can't see him. Can't see God. Of course you can't see God. Of course not. Of course not. You're magic. You're magic poofers. He doesn't like you at all. God, not in the tent of meeting. I'd stay the fuck out. Which is all you've done your entire life, and why you can't figure out that you're in hell. The all your entire life since '96 shouldn't have been doing what you've been doing. Nah, but you did it anyway. You did it anyway. So '96, when uh, the the church collapsed that I was baptized in '86, and then transferred to kept to the 6,000 year Earth legend, and now I'm taking the Bible away from the top in the Indian Reservation Bible cult church while I collapse you because you're puff on the popes. He gave you bad book. Puff, 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 puff. Legend book. Who? Puff, puff, puff. Sit your asses down. Learn a little bit. You don't have Earth history. You don't have it. You don't have it. You don't have it because you've always legendized it. Always legendized. 1610. You have nothing in between except everything that you kept falsely. Two wrongs make right, by the way. No, two double negatives makes a positive. Uh, is not two wrongs make a right. However, when two wrongs are wrong, you're still wrong, and so you evolved writing. Two wrongs made it worse, and provided you 500 years, no more buying or selling the books. Right there, 500 years. No more buying or selling books to stop and figure out what the fuck happened. Fuck. Yeah, that one's, well, you have a 500-year legend. Took 13 years to figure that one out. But I am Ben David Sparky, and I've kind of pissed you broke about the internet in '99. So you haven't broken the internet. I know. You did. You broke the internet in '99. by not thinking that far ahead in 2001. The 1999, having 20 King James about 1999, uh, Internet Apocryphal Bible, Internet Apocryphal Bible. So you guys then made your own Gardner's 6,000 Year Legend Bible. It was itself an apocryphal work, where you took another apocryphal and you put you conjoined your all of the apocryphals that you invalidated. It also being legends. So everything in print. Duh. Duh. You thought you were smart? You went, no, you have no education. You thought you were smart. Oh, we went, oh, yeah. No, you went, there's 6 different deductions. You're about as dumb as they come. Yo, you're actually about as dumb as they come. Colt, it's not a cute find. Your dog, your Eve's bloody tampon just meant put you into put you in your shame. You're Eve's bloody you are actually Eve's bloody tampon. Got questions, not cult. You are actually Eve's bloody tampon. Got questions, not cult. You are actually Eve's bloody tampon. Got questions, not cult. You are actually Eve's bloody tampon in Earth history. That one fit. Ignorant apocryphal Bible provided Eve's bloody tampon. This entire period, the didn't when God walked among the people and made water come from a rock, and he told Moses not to misspell the letter A. When he chiseled his name into the rock and he didn't let you write anything down about it, is when he said. When the women bleeding couldn't be inside the camp with God there because he was too holy for that, they'd go holy plop and probably kaploop, and he just wouldn't let them in there. I'm not sure why. But he's pretty quite positive because he didn't want them around, and he has real. He was sitting there, burn your meat, and he'd make your savory. You sit there smelling. Yeah, I think he had a really sensitive nose, actually. Uh, God could really smell everything. He's a scientist, and living in that natural environment, you'd have a lot more better. You guys don't have logic because you don't even use your nostrils correct. Cult ministerial organization, you don't. You don't use these organs correct. You don't use these senses correct. You use these. Oh, I farted, and yeah, maybe made it stinky. Let's make sure it's okay. You don't use these correct to how would the birds use it in order to see which direction I need to go. They do that, yeah. So I need to think about this. I can see it all perfectly well. But all of this 1610 data is your 1611 naughty. Your King James Version of the Bible is your 1666 when kafuck you, a literal kafuck you. literal. Can't read me in wisdom because I've got six different deductions with the sacred seven over here who fucked it up, and a sacred seven over here who's what's wrong over here who found out that you took God out of the Bible, and I happen to be the sacred seven over here. I did this when I was 10 also. What's wrong with this deduction? Why is it so off? And I couldn't find the data even in the 1984 Britannica. We were just opening up that at least 500 million years. At least. Okay. Well, now we know that at least 500 million years ago, the upper volcano provided you basalt flows and provided you the what you're driving through, the sedimentary layers and the andesite flow. It provided you that cult. It provided you that, just like the White Cliffs of Dover provided you millions of years of fossilization, and just like your Neanderthals provided you hyoid, and that's like your Bible provided your medieval magic snake talking to you. And you took away Josephus telling you, but, well, all the living creatures had but one language. And then he tells a funny story. I like that one with the book of Enoch. By the way, you're less than me. Anything. Got questions.org. You are an apocrypha. Fine. You guys are this weird, kind of uniquely romanticized. Uh, Took God out of my interpretation, and uniquely romanticized into it's a beautiful trial and error period of Earth history that you were born in, I suppose. You romanticized through the Cold War era as your wives were watching. Uh, Not what were they, soap operas, and you romanticized into your Cold War era entertainment of you romanticized into uh, MASH and Three's a Company, Three's a Crowd, as that slowly progressed up into where we're becoming more open to the open culture that is what you evolved out of, into blending with their not use and them uh, battling to establish the cultural differences. There's intelligent differences also. They have some better capacities than you have to be living that way, so leave them the fuck alone. They don't need your book, and they don't have the capacities to learn to write. That's why you have some learning difficulties in some uh, areas, such as what's not a learning disorder. Listening to that little, I'm having a hard time sounding out words because this little inner Shiva voice is a little different than for Australian than for me. I'm 6,000 years away from Seth. We are different. Seth had that radiant glory that God did that, and we have different skulls. We have different brains. We have different use. That's why when I'm taking you kids over to that Kabbalistic little hag who's fucking around with the Kabbalistic cube rituals and poking herself. You watch, she's poking, yeah. That's not how you do it. Little girl, you're about to 6-month-old with that one. No, don't fuck with that anymore. It's it's kind of a bad joke. It's cool. Right there. Turn it Of course, you're doing that to yourselves, kids. You're all indentured to lying to yourselves. You all lying to yourself. Of course, you're in hell. You're poking yourself in your third eye. Only people in hell can do that. If there is such a place, Jesus said it's right among you, so I'm sure it is. Or heaven. The only people in heaven could find ways to bump themselves in their third eye and record themselves on YouTube. Only people in heaven can do that. Only people in heaven. Only people in heaven can be caught doing that. According to scripture. Jesus said it's among you right here, right now. So when we go back to over there, it's too funny. I can't. So I got a brainless pastor. I can't help that much because I'm laughing at this girl on YouTube. My third eye. That's not how you do it, little girl. So that simple fun that quelled you up, acquainted you. Well, I need to turn the slider probably. It's nothing like that. 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 Okay? God can give you homosexual male preaching tendencies if he wants you to be caught poking yourself in the third eye. He can do that to you if you take him out of his own tent meeting, and he told you not to do that, and he reduced you to not even the charcoal. This pen has more ink in it than you have legitimacy on your website. Sorry, buddies. And so Adam and Eve had this brilliant, radiant glory in the Garden of Eden that everyone was scared of, and had everyone serving them, bringing them their food. Adam and Lilith back in the day when Adam wasn't fat because he wasn't tethered through an umbilical cord to Eve and could fly with Lilith. He'd go to places like, he'd fly around all over the place, So Lilith finally got, I told you that story, left him for Australia. They were down there. That's the only place I can figure out that makes sense, because up there in Neolithic land over in 20,000 years ago, where Eve wasn't there yet and Lilith was gone already, you have Adam helping them create and taking his own for concubinical purposes, and he probably inseminated quite a few Neolithics around there also, because Eve did not reach a state of maturity in Menarche until she gave first birth. That is when your Bible history began, 100 years after excommunication, after being kicked out of the Garden of Eden, after being provided the stop point from where your legend of 6,000 year Earth legend chipped out. Chip, 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 chip. Deduction number 1, deduction number 2, deduction number 3, deduction number 4, deduction number 5. Get into the story itself. God wrote it for you, having Moses look at it. God observed Moses handwriting it. God also observed Joshua handwriting it. God told Joshua at the scribal interpolation of the James Usher Jasher point at 120 years Moses' obituary, notice Hey, you don't know where I'm going to be. That is your Genesis 6 to 9 relationship to the book of Enoch, relationship to the book of Jasher again, your Genesis 1-9 relationship to the information I'm providing you, your your book of Enoch to your Enochian traditions, and those are some beautiful traditions, guys. You don't know what you're missing out on by you being the worst of the two cults. You're actually worse. You guys are actually worse than the Satanics. They just have the garage abortion situation that we need to curb, and that one is another nasty. That's just dumb behavior. Yeah, if you want to, you're already in hell. Why do it in such a backwards way? And be smarter. Castrate yourselves. That'll work better. The let's have more eunuchs having sex. It'll improve the longevity of important performances. Christians need to start cutting their balls off. Christians, y'all need to cut your balls off to make me happy. Christians, all cut your balls off to make me happy for what I'm handwriting for you. You putting God back into the Bible because you Christians took God out of the Bible is fucking hard. You Christians are the worst. Took God out of the Bible, and now I can't put him back in there because of 1610 overwrote and you invalidated being born. Uh, how do I get you out of hell? You don't give a shit. See, I know. Yeah. But it's kind of fun to be saying up at midnight some things. Yeah, yes, we are definitely in hell on Monday morning when you're going to puff on the Pope tomorrow and take the New Jerusalem Bible away from him because you have the James Issue deduction, and you know that those 7 books of Apocrypha are more important than your website, more sacred than, because it's in because it's actually in the Bible. Unlike Jimmy Swaggart's edition of, he had to contribute to your mess of liturgical misunderstandings of. And I'm going to contribute to legend that conflated in 1859 and was 1914 legend yet again in 1917 and 1922 legend, 1923 legend, 1924 legend, 1925 legend, 1926 legend. I'll stop there. It's such a boring history. It's a legend. So, are you sure? There's nothing in the OTO aside from the story I wanted to find out to get out of James Usher. There's nothing in the OTO but a story about to find a way out of James Usher. Ahad, the manifestation in New Eat. And that's all you needed to know the word amen meant what it meant. It's finished. Revelation 16, verse 17. You have the whole Bible from there. Deuteronomy 34:10. Don't fuck with that verse ever once again because you did wrong in the 27 times you ever looked at it, and you not very well. Never caught your interest, I suppose. Why? What does face to face as friends mean? Never caught your interest. Never caught your interest. What did face to face as friends mean? Well, it meant in the 4 places where Moses wrote down all of the words and the 200 places that God said, I'll walk among you and put my tent among you, and I'll be among you, and I'll be your God, and you will be my people. You didn't understand the legend at all. It's a single legend. Don't fuck with that. It's not from Matthew chapter 5, verse 1. Don't fuck with Deuteronomy. Handwrite Leviticus in your schools tomorrow, which is why you have Corona. So it's not a big deal. Your schools are already closed. See, he collapsed you. 6,000 year cult closure. I know you have corona because you're so morally incompetent, and I've been trying to stop for a year and a half and help you understand that you're just immorals. And you have corona. Help you understand that because you're so immoral, you can't. You have no legitimate Earth history because you're so immoral. You have no legitimate Earth history because you're so immoral. You have no legitimate Earth history because you're so immoral. You have no legitimate Earth history because you're so immoral. And no, you have no Earth history from the White Cliffs of Dover to Neolithica because you're in hell. You have no Earth history because you're in hell. You have absolutely no Earth history because you magically proved everything after 6,000 or 4,000 BC, and you came up with 4,004 BC. Also, and then Darwin took over. Then you evolved it. Then you evolved writing. Then you evolved writing. No more, no more, no more evolving. Then you evolved writing. 6,000 year cult of closure at the evolution of writing. Spoon man. So the evolution of writing it's going to have a. I'm going to have to think about this writing. Invalid history of the authorship 2020 1976 invalid New American Standard Apocrypha invalid 1976 Apocrypha invalidated again in 1977. 1977. You should 1977, 1850, not 1859. 1611 was too far. 16, not too holy, not too holy, not too holy, not too holy, not too holy. You had crusade after crusade, and you kind of cool that you did it, but you have no record of it, having done it, and it's typical. So we have to collapse you to just, oh wow, we do have something there. It's only a little layer of dust over there. But we don't know actually how they got around, and we don't know the legitimate history of the Crusades. We actually don't. So your 1977 should have had that legitimate Earth history, but you couldn't. So when were the Crusades? So when were the Crusades that put us into 1986? 1986. So that would have been your Chernobyl disaster. Chernobyl. 1986 World's Fair. Vancouver, British Columbia. And that was the time of Chernobyl. And I actually witnessed them telling us because during that era they kept everything secret, telling us the Russians came over. They made sure to tell everyone, every American, every English. The Russians came in, took Chernobyl off the map. So where was it? Right over there. Had the all secret. We can't tell it. They told me. They were. That was the Cold War era. They took Chernobyl off of the map. I witnessed it. They're in, they're in the World's Fair. That wasn't very communicative. We had a major cool thing to look at. What happened? And now now we have the false history. So again, false history, Chernobyl. So you've had a false history since '86. So, there was something else in 1986. We had the World's Fair 1986 Olympics. 1986 Olympics, and that was you knew you weren't each other, and you knew the We Are the World. When was that? We Are the World. We're saving Africa from what? Caucasian stupidity. Stupid. We are the world. We're not looking at each other. We're not used. Caucasian stupidity is what that was. Chernobyl, the evolution of writing. We're 1976. So in 1996, data we had 1996. However, we're gonna go back into my daughter first. She was born on July 26, 7/26, and in 96, this is where it's cool. You have a Minerva Queen. Uh, the Kennewick man. So she was born on 7/26 in 1996, and then Kennewick Man was discovered on July 28th, 1996. So you had 2 whole days to recover and understand that Ben David's daughter was born, and this man was found 2 whole days later. If you were looking for Ben David, but you weren't. So on July 28th, I had to find for you. Wasn't in the newspaper either. So I've been piecing two and two together to come up with four for quite a few years. 1996, 7/26, 1996. That was his birthday, child's birthday, kid. That's we're calling her kid. Then Kennewick Man, 1996, July 28th, 1996, 1996. So 1996, 7/28. 2 days later to my children. 1996. So you had this opportunity to go. Oh, this Kennewick Man is showed to you the medieval magic poofing in the Bible right there, but you couldn't figure it out because you kept him as a legend and you didn't share his secrets very well. Over 9,000 years will be given a false burial and finally freed to share his secrets. No, he's not. He's been encapsulated in a legend. This man is not free to share his secrets. This is not a bearded Neolithic savage like we have to make him pretties for you uglies. This is what would have been a Neolithic beauty of somebody, a brave man who looked nothing like your pictures, looked nothing like the nothings. He would have been proud. He would have been an Indian brave. He was wise. He lived with the Department of the Animals who spoke All of the animals shared the common language. He could train an eagle. Kennewick man, this pattern of people would have traveled all the way up to the Aleutians in Alaska once a year as before as he's getting older, and he'd probably do it as a major. I'm going to do it and then I'm going to get married and come back, and once he then later he would take a son to something major like that. But men like Kennewick man would have been able to paddle all the way the Columbia River, all the way to the Aleutians with a team of 3 or 4 of them in that peaceful environment that was with the calm waves without the what you're calling global warming. No, it's you're incompetent, stupid Christians. You kept a long date. You're looking at that global warming thing wrong. That's a pollution. That is a legitimate. You are burning holes in your atmosphere because you're creating a false atmosphere. And so all of your data that calculated it 50 years ago, and then you have weird, stupid everything after 96 being invalid by science and by you magic proofing and invalidating CFR 191, invalidating this legitimate history of Kennewick man, 9,200-year-old fossil remain. You invalidated that Earth history, kids. Cult organization, you invalidated this. You, 1999, had this. Had this. However, you get kind of a sharp smack in the whap because in 1996, that was only 3 years. And so up to then, practically the whole world believed in 1996. Up to then, probably the majority still kind of held on to. In 96, I personally knew of it, and I watched pastors still have all their young earth magic proofing shit out. Yeah, you still have all of that false pseudoscience bullshit. Young Earth creationism is a pseudoscience bullshit. Pseudoscientific, as stupid as evolution biology. You evolved it all. You fabricated an evolved Earth history. You fabricated a flat Earth history, and you kept it at young Earth. Stop it, turn it off at gotquestions.cult, internetcult.org of all neat, nasty places to watch die for the last year and a half. Kennewick man, 9,200-year-old fossil remain is already dead. You don't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit about you. And so you don't need your book, your magic proofing book. Magic proofing, magic proofing. You're getting that final not happy with you, Sparky. Ben David magic proofers. You're so out there's magic proofing. Magic proofing. Kennewick man, 9,200-year-old fossil remain, not magically proofed. You just being too immoral, incompetent to think. Why? That's why you're mentally ill. You're in hell. I need to sleep. I've been doing this too long. But I want to finish because this needs to be done. I need to be done. This is so moronically asinine stupid with the 500-year magic proof. When did man evolve writing? When the fuck? What the fuck? Well, you think I'm happy about that? 500 years. That one's insane. 500 years. That one's entirely insane. That one is just stupid, asinine, stupid. Stupid, asinine, stupid. 500 fucking years. Asinine, stupid. as is 6,000-year Earth legend, aside with an approximate secondary 6,000-year Earth legend, aside with a not secondary 6,000-year Earth legend specifically isolated to October 23, 4004 BC, and Newton took you to 4000 BC, and Lightfoot took you a little bit further in, closer to a minute. Thanks, Lightfoot. What were you looking at? We will never know. That was a weird legend to follow. Weird. Lightfoot. What did you do with your approximations? Yeah. Which legends did you follow? You didn't do a very good job. You didn't use Earth history very well. You just followed a legend. All right, thanks for hanging out. I'm I'm angsty. I'm also tired. But I regret to inform you. I regret to inform you. We're taking the Bible out of print because of the Jameson deduction being a false pseudo-scientific deduction. I don't regret to inform you. NASA, we broke you. I found that one over here. Afterwards, they will return to me from among the nations with all their heart, the first and the last things, and that which will become about during all the divisions of the times of the law and the testimony, and for the weeks of jubilees, forever, until I come down. Wow. And dwell with them for all ages of eternity. This is shit that's still coming to pass. And he told the angel of presence to write for Moses about the period for the beginning of creation until my sanctuary is built in their midst for all eternity. The Lord will appear in the sight of all, and all will know that I am God of Israel, father of all Jacob's children, and king on Mount Zion for all eternity. Then Zion, Jerusalem, will be holy, for having taken the Bible out of print in the year 2020. The angel of presence said to Moses by the word of the Lord, write all the words of creation now, on which the sixth day the Lord your God completed all his works and everything that he had created. Everything. When God began to create and created the heaven and the earth, and you were relied to two creation narratives, there's more than that. And then rested on the seventh day. He consecrated it for all ages and appointed it as a sign for all of his works, including gravity. For on the first day he created the highest heavens on the earth, the waters, and all the spirits to minister before him, the angels of the presence, the angels of holiness. The angel of presence is a normal, always there angels, series of angels that are all throughout these. They're in the Bible too. The angels of the spirits of fire, the angels of the winds that are below, the angels of the spirits of the clouds, and that those angels are different than the angel of presence. Darkness, hailstones come from dew and snow, hail, and ice, the angels of thunder, and the angels of the wind. So now you're getting into some Greek mythology. All of this spirits, which this would be some interpolation also, and some direction you're receiving into how they're taking record also around them. Darkness, he determined by this knowledge, this we know his works, and he blessed them for all works to praise him, because he had done seven great works on the first day. Seven great works on the first day. One day. On the second day, he made the expanse between the waters and in the waters, and divided. And the day, half of them went up above the expanse, and half of them went down below the expanse that is in the midst of the above the whole earth. So where's that? That's your atmosphere, kids. The expanse. Right on. Great apes. Okay. And the poles of the dew of the earth, seed bearing plants, and the sprouts from trees in the forests and the gardens of Eden for the enjoyment of food. These four great types he made on the third day. So it's an apocryphal legend that it's very difficult to see through, is what it is. Oh, I'm good to go to bed now. Tomorrow, back up. I want this done this week. I've wasted 13 years on this. It's got to get done. Waste a 13 years. Wasted. Feel disappointed. Make sure your cult organization collapses. Saul changed his name to Paul. He gave you 13 letters. Take apart it. Him calling you fools in Galatians. You immoral fools, is what he said to you.